Hello and welcome to week 17 of the 2021 Game Picks. I'm Austin Ramos. Fortunately, do not have Chris or DJ schedule complications. And also, Happy New Year. But yes, today, solo again. It's probably going to be like this for until after week 18, the season finale. But we'll have playoff picks, so don't worry. But yeah, let's get into week 17. And we lead it off with the leaderboard. DJ still remains on top, but it's a very slim lead. DJ, everyone's coming for you. DJ is on top, 157 wins, 83 losses. Tied with Steve. And then on top of that, I have 155 wins, 85 losses, which puts me technically in second, but realistically in third right now. Matt is not far behind, 153. 87. Then we have Chris, 151, 89. And then Eddie, 148, 92. Eddie, man, I don't know what to tell you, man. You allowed Chris to take the lead on you. I just, what's going on here? Last week was not very good for Matt or DJ. They had the same record. Me and Steve went 13-3. Pretty good pickings. Chris had probably his best week, going 14-2. Definitely his best week of the year. There's definitely some opportunity. I think there's a chance that me and Matt have a realistic chance of possibly jumping into first. I think it's too far for Chris. But let's see. I just got to pick two more games better than DJ this week. And then, week 18, that's just a free-for-all. We'll see what happens. But definitely, it's winding down to be very interesting. With that being said, let's go into the games. And as you can see, I picked already a few games, but we'll talk about them here. So first game to lead it off, we have the Atlanta Falcons versus the Buffalo Bills. And plain and simple, going with Buffalo. I think Buffalo is the better team in this situation. Even though their records are similar, pretty close, 7-8, Buffalo 9-6. But really can't just go against Buffalo here. I just think they are the better team. And everyone who's picked so far, pretty much Eddie, Matt, and Steve have picked all their games. Those guys are pretty much on the same page as me, so we'll see what happens. Next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the New England Patriots. And I'm going to go with the Patriots here. As much as I would love for the 2-13 Jacksonville Jaguars to stun the 9-6 Patriots, I don't think it's going to happen, especially in New England. But, hey, if I'm wrong on this pick, I'll be very happy because then it sets up an easier road for the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs to go to the playoffs. But with that being said, don't think it's a real possibility. And Eddie, Matt, and Steve also agree. Next, we'll go to the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a tough one. As you can see here, I picked Kansas City just as like an insurance type pick. I think Kansas City, as much as they have a better record, they're pretty close with the Cincinnati Bengals. This is one of those games if the Cincinnati Bengals really want to, prove something and make themselves, noticed in terms of, hey, we're like a decent team too. We should be among the talk of, up-and-coming teams because they are the leading division right now. They're the AFC North leaders. They haven't won it outright yet, but it's going to be a close one for them. But the Kansas City Chiefs are really hitting a good stride. Earlier in the season, could not say the same, but they really found their way and they've started winning a lot of games. So Kansas City is definitely a team not to mess with and not to want to run into. And they're also fighting for something. If they won this game, I believe they secured the number one seed in the AFC. So, and number one seed is pretty much the coveted position for any playoff team now in the NFL. Used to be the top two seeds. Now it's solely the number one seed for the first round bye. But for now, the safe pick is Kansas City, but I could flip this at game time. It depends. But it's going to be tough seeing Kansas City losing to a team like Cincinnati. But I've been riding the Cincinnati train, so they could possibly do it. The guys already picked Kansas City. Can't blame them. Next, we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Baltimore Ravens. the 11-4 Rams, 8-7 Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore has had a rough season, and it's mostly due to the fact that one, when they're in close games, and they decide to go for 2-point conversions instead of probably forcing a tie and sending it to overtime and possibly winning it there. Both times, it's really burned them. So that's already 2 losses there. They had a big dramatic loss to the Miami Dolphins, and that was good for me, bad for Raven fans. But the Ravens season has not gone out the way they've hoped it for. And then Los Angeles has really hit a good stride, finally getting the lead in the division, which looked like a long shot because the Arizona Cardinals were pretty much running away with it. But now with this win, I believe the Los Angeles Rams secure the NFC West because they've already played 2 games against the Cardinals. But if they do lose this game, then it's possibly up for the grabs for the Cardinals. So that should make an interesting storyline heading into Week 18 if that's the case. But I got to go with the Rams here. If there's no Lamar Jackson, it's going to be tough for me to pick the Ravens. But if Lamar comes back, then possibly another game time decision here by me. But I don't see Baltimore having a chance without Lamar Jackson. So, plain and simple. Next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Indianapolis Colts. 8-7 Raiders fighting for their playoff lives. And then we have the Indianapolis Colts, who are the number 5 seed, which is basically the number 1 wild card seed. And then they have a chance, if the Dolphins win and the Colts win, then the Colts, I believe, take the division lead, which will be interesting for the AFC South. That being said, the Raiders are on their last legs, and I don't think they really have a chance against this Indianapolis Colts team, who I believe have been, one of the more dominant teams in the NFL this season. They haven't been very consistent in, having lots of wins. I mean, 9 is a pretty decent amount of wins, but definitely kind of roller coaster type of year. Lots of high highs, and I wouldn't say the lowest lows, but they drop down every now and then when they do lose. But this Colts team has really found its stride and definitely riding the back of Jonathan Taylor. That being said, I'm going with the Colts. I believe they're just better than the Las Vegas Raiders, and sure enough, the guys agree with me. One of my favorite games of the week: Miami Dolphins at the Tennessee Titans. 8-7 Dolphins, 10-5 Titans. Possibility of Derrick Henry returning. And then Miami is facing Ryan Tannehill for the first time since they've traded him to Tennessee. So this is very interesting to see for the Dolphins. That being said, I would love to see the Dolphins win. But it's going to be a tough game. I think this Tennessee team is very good, especially with dealing with, their biggest injuries. They still have remained to find a way to stay relevant and stay winning games. But the Colts are on their tail, and I'm pretty sure they know they feel it. So they're definitely going to come out with some type of force and definitely try to make the best of the situation. But it's going to be tough for them, especially going into the playoffs if they continue to be injured. Let's see. Let's get a look. Steve is the only one going with the Titans. Matt and Eddie are going with the Dolphins. Can't blame my Miami guys. They got to go for the Dolphins, and sure enough, it makes more sense. But Tennessee is definitely no joke, so it could be Titans. My bias pick is going with the Dolphins, but do that with that as you wish. Next, we have the New York Giants at the Chicago Bears. The Bears got a surprising win against the Seattle Seahawks. That was one of my, upset games that I picked that, they could possibly beat the Seahawks last week, and they actually did, which was very good in my favor in terms of standings. But this one, I got to go with Chicago, and Matt and Eddie are going with the Giants. Steve is going with the Bears. I got to go with the Chicago Bears. I think they're a better team than the Giants. Doesn't matter their record. It's just the Giants have been injured all season long, and it's been very unfortunate for them. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington football team. This is a pretty good matchup, but the Washington football team has fallen off in the past couple of weeks, especially after the big loss to the Dallas Cowboys. So that just doesn't help things very much. So we have another split decision. Matt is going with the football team. Eddie and Steve are going with the Eagles. I think the Eagles are a better team, so I can't blame the guys for going with them, and I'm going with them too. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New York Jets, and Tampa, plain and simple. Let's keep it moving. I think the guys clean sweep against the Jets, perfect. Next, we have the Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Rams. Chargers. They got stunned last week by the Houston Texans, which was interesting to see. Pretty much most of the games I picked last week were close in terms of my losses, but the Los Angeles Rams Chargers one was just completely a shocker. But then also you have the Denver Broncos. I got to go with the Chargers here. After a big blowout loss like that, you definitely got to bounce back. Denver just, fell off. They had a pretty good run in the beginning of the season and then just been kind of shaky ever since. Eddie is the only one going with the Broncos. Sorry, bud. Next, we have the Houston Texans at the San Francisco 49ers. 4-11 Houston Texans versus 8-7 49ers. I don't think Houston has a chance here, but hey, they did have a big game last week, so you got to give them some credit where credit is due. Just like I expected, clean sweep across the board for the San Francisco 49ers. That was actually the Denver versus Los Angeles was the first 4 o'clock game. There's no Thursday games. There is a Monday game, though. And no Saturday games. Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals at the Dallas Cowboys. 4:25 kickoff. This is a really good matchup. This is probably going to be Fox's game of the week, America's game of the week, or whatever. We have the Arizona Cardinals 10-5, 11-4 Dallas Cowboys. Lots of playoff implications here. And surprising fact is Kyler Murray is undefeated in AT&T Stadium. I know ESPN posted a lot about it, so this is actually a tough one. Let's see what's the guys are picking. Eddie's going with the Cowboys. Matt is going with the Cardinals, and then Steve is also going with the Cowboys. I mean, it's hard not to go with history and Kyler Murray being undefeated in AT&T Stadium. But the Cowboys, they're definitely fighting for that number 1 seed. They're also competing with the Green Bay Packers. Do I think the Cowboys get it? In terms of the number 1 seed, doubtful. But could they win against this Cardinals team? I think so. Last time Arizona played in Dallas, it was a blowout, and Arizona came out completely on top. This is a different Dallas Cowboys team, and I think they show that on Sunday, so I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. I just think this Arizona Cardinals team had a really good early run in the season and have fallen off. I wouldn't say drastically, but they have definitely taken a step back. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. I got to go game time decision, because if the Saints are still dealing with COVID situations, then I'm not going to go with the Saints. But for the time being, I'm going to go with the Saints, just because I think they are a better team than the Carolina Panthers, and everyone agrees. But game time decision, if the Saints are still dealing with any type of COVID situation, I'm going back to Carolina. But for the time being, I'm going with the Saints. Next, we have the Detroit Lions at the Seattle Seahawks. Really? This isn't a crazy game to pick. I'm going to check out what the guys are going with. Pretty much Seattle across the board. That's what I expected. I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit wins this. So, another possible game time decision here. But for the most likely, sticking with Seattle, I think just slightly they are the better team. But, yeah, you never know. The Lions beat the Cardinals, so anything is possible. Sunday night football, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. I think Minnesota is still fighting for a chance to make the playoffs. I think they're not fully eliminated yet. And then Green Bay is fighting for the number 1 seed. So who am I going to take more here? Definitely got to go with the Packers. I just think they are a better option here, and the guys agree with me. And then last but not least, we have Monday Night Football, Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whoever loses this game, it gets eliminated from playoff contention. And tough one. tough one. So you have the Browns, who 50-50. You know, I wouldn't say they've had a horrible season. I wouldn't have to say they have a great season. They've been consistently, you know, up one game, down one game, up one game. So, like, it's just a roller coaster for them, but not one of those steep ones that just goes up and down like this. It's more like, you know, little hills type stuff. Pittsburgh, their season, similar, but I'd say the talk of their games have really been just ups and downs. Pittsburgh, lots of heartbreaking losses for them this season, and I think this is the icing on the cake for them. And Cleveland gets the win on Monday Night Football. Eddie, Matt, agree with me. Steve is going with Pittsburgh on the other hand, but should make for an interesting Week 17. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. But next week's video will come out pretty much a day or two before the games commence on next Sunday. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. And Miami Dolphins versus Tennessee Titans game preview is coming up next. So it'll be coming out just about the same time as this one. So stay tuned for that, any Dolphin fans. And appreciate you guys for watching.